You're listening to the Current Plays Podcast, Season 3, Episode 17, Obsession. Now please welcome your hosts, Jordan and Thomas. And welcome back, noble listeners. This week we are talking about our obsession. Obsession by Dan Halligan and published by Kayenta Games, who have published other such games as Obsession, Wessex Expansion, and Obsession, Useful Box.
With the useful man.
Yep.
Yep.
So this is an Elizabethan themed, I don't even know, tile laying game, I guess.
Kind of, yeah. Building, buying.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us all about it, and the listeners will figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, it takes place in a Elizabethan time period where you're getting ready. It's very Bridgerton-esque, right?
Yeah.
So you play a family, an English family that's kind of down on their luck, right? So they're low on cash, they're low on kind of respect, well, probably not respect, but what
Prestige.
prestige, yes, low on prestige. They want to build up their family and become, more important in, English, Derbyshire,
Aristocratic society.
exactly, right? And to do this, you have to attract the attention of the lovely Fairchild's children, yeah. Both of which, take the form of cards in this game. So in this game, you start off with a hand of essentially four, I believe it's four family member cards, depending on the family you choose. And your estate starts with a number of sort of simple little buildings, right? These are things like, a croquet lawn and a, I don't know, things like that would be in sort of this thematic point of an estate kind of thing, right? So you have these sort of these buildings, you have these gentry that take up positions as cards, these family members, and on your turn, you select one of the rooms that you're going to host an event in. So one of those buildings you have in your estate, and you send some of the gentry there that are going to entertain, and you get stuff. So whether that's pounds, or it's prestige, or say it's attracting of more guests, all that kind of stuff, right? So you're gonna basically be going to these buildings. You'll be sending your workers, which take the form of these sort of household servants. So you have butlers and valets and ladies in waiting, and those will attend to your various guests and help, make those buildings run smoothly, right? So like if you're going to the croquet lawn, you need a valet to be there or a footman rather, there to, hold your clubs and do whatever a footman might do at a croquet lawn, right? So
Which we're very familiar with.
oh, 100%. Yeah, I did watch all of Bridgerton and I love it, but I think this it, I'll keep explaining the game. So you do this, and you have a set number of turns in a standard game, which is what we played last night. You have 16 turns. In an extended game, I believe you have maybe 20 turns. So it's like 4 extra turns, 1 extra turn per round. And essentially what you do is during a round or a season, they call it, You are building buildings, you're hiring staff, you're attracting new guests in the hope that you will attract the fair children or the fair childs at the end of that round during the courtship phase, at which point they will join you for the next round. And their abilities on their cards are usually more powerful than anything that you start with your family member, right? Your family members. And then, yeah, you do this for 4 rounds, and at the end of the 4 rounds, whoever has achieved the most victory points, it becomes the leading family in this time period, right? So very much a super thematic game, and very impressive that both the designer here and this publisher, I feel like, came out of nowhere and then like plop down this like masterpiece. And then I don't know if they've done anything since. And
Yeah.
I know as far as like getting this game, this publisher, this Canada Games or whatever key something that you had mentioned, um,
Kayenta.
Kayenta, they're the only ones that like print it, and then your lights went off. That's awesome.
Somebody turned off all my lights.
Yeah. They're the only ones that print it, so I think they have one distributor in potentially in Canada. And that would be, I think it's Board Game Bliss has is the only one you can actually buy
Oh,
this
really?
game from. Yeah, you can't find it in like anywhere else. I don't know if that's changed, but when I got this, it was definitely going through like a second printing, and it was like everyone was waiting for more copies to arrive, and I had like, a notification in with Board Game Bliss that when it was ready, they'd let me know when they got their copies, right? So
Nice.
yeah, yeah, and then
That makes sense why I've never seen it at J&J's.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's one of those ones. I think they have a few distribution channels down south. But yeah, yeah, here it's only the only Board Game Bliss, which is interesting because I mean that makes sense. Board Game Bliss here is the one we typically see partnering with different fulfillment things and whatnot to, usually it's bringing in Kickstarter exclusive stuff and whatnot.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
somehow they got the rights to this one to be the only one to hold this one. It's a great one. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard from another podcast
Hmm.
that that Dan Halligan, yeah, basically watched Bridgerton or whatever with his wife and was a big gamer and wanted to make something like his wife wasn't much of a gamer and he's like, "Oh, I want to make something that she'd be interested in."
Yeah.
And he and then just developed this game and was incredible. Uh it's a wild story. One we can
That
all relate to.
yeah,
For the
yeah.
designing a masterpiece part.
Yeah, exactly, right. And that's such an impressive story too. I hadn't heard that. But yeah, no, like that's fantastic. I couldn't imagine because this game is very I will say there's some randomness in it, and when we'll talk about that. But
Yeah.
other than some of that random, like it's got some tight mechanisms. Like
Hmm.
you're doing some stuff that like, for example, when you're trying to get coinage, it's very difficult. It can be very difficult, right? So you're always,
Yeah.
unless you really plan for that, you're not going to have a lot of money throughout the game. So you're really kind of like savoring those coins or making the plays as you can make it, right? Versus if you do try and get more money, then you're missing out on something else. Maybe you're ignoring your increasing your prestige or something, right? And that's what we kind of saw last night, where I was very poor a lot of the game, trying to like scrape whatever coins I could from turn to turn, and then I'd get a bit of coins and I'd spend most of it all at once, because
Yeah.
every turn you can purchase a new building for your state, right? Or a new area for your state. And you, on the other hand, you got some American visitors, which is quite funny in this. The Americans are often very rich visitors, but they lower your prestige because
Yeah.
at this point in time, those that those groups are from America coming over, across the pond and oh, they have a ton of money. They're bringing a ton of money, but they're not as respectable as the English families, right? So it's really quite funny to see that in play. But yeah, so you had a lot of the American cards, and you take massive hits on like prestige, but like at one point, you brought in like one turn, you brought in like 1,000 gold, and I was like, "Ooh, I'd be happy if I got 300."
Oh,
Right?
that was an early game turn. I brought in 1,000
Yeah,
gold. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
It was quite
Later, I was
impressive.
bringing in
Yeah,
more.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Right. Yeah. So it was like quite the play, and then each of these buildings too are really neat because they they require different types of, gentry is a catch-all term for any guest can go, but then
Hmm.
some of them require only gentlemen, and some of them only require ladies, and some require one gentleman and one lady, and three ladies or something, right? So every building is very unique in that sense as well. So you get this quite the estate afterwards, and you're trying to build your estate out to impress those Fairchilds.
Yeah.
And that brings us sort of to the randomness. So during the at the start of every round, including the first round, you will flip over a theme card, and that theme card will correspond to one of the, I think it's five colored buildings, right? Different areas of your estate. So like your greens are always going to be like your sporting buildings, and your browns are always going to be like your ballrooms and get together places. The purples are sort of like these like a bit of like
Like,
party rooms, showrooms, cigar rooms, kind of thing, things like that.
yeah, I think
Um,
like art rooms and music
yes.
rooms and yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then your pink is very much like the tea rooms and the gardens and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And blue is usually is all kind of like servant rooms, so you can bring on new servants, or your servants can take on different special abilities, right?
Right.
So you flip over the theme card, it'll correspond to one of those buildings, and then whoever at the end of the round has the highest score in those buildings will attract the Fairchild for the next round, right? So in our game, what happened right away? We flipped a card, and right away it was a blue servants card, right? Well, the way the building row was set up, there was only one blue building set up. So I was first turn by random selection, and so I bought up that one room. So right off the bat, one room was giving me 1 point in the blue. And then we went three different turns in that round, and not a single blue building came back up, right? So I was
Yep.
able to use my initial blue room. So that one, and it's a cool thing. So when you use a room, they flip over to the opposite side after you use them, and then usually they get a little weaker sometimes, but they are worth more points, right? So I was able to flip over that one room, and it was worth another point. So now I had 2 points in blue, and the most you could get was if you flipped over your blue building and get one, right?
Yep.
So I won that one. I got the Fairchild that round just from, kind of random chance. Then we head into the second season, and I flip over another blue theme card. So again, I'm up 2-0 at this point, and it
And
just became okay, let's watch for a blue building to come up, and I'll try and snipe it before you have a chance, right?
right. And
Yeah,
still no blue buildings came up. Not a single
nothing.
one.
Yeah, yeah. So again, at the end of that courtship, I won the Fairchild, right? And these cards are like the Fairchild cards do a decent amount of work for you. Like you typically in a standard game,
Yeah.
you can play them once per round. In an extended, you get one extra turn during the season, so you can sometimes, if you play it right, you can play them twice. But they help you, especially early on, rock it up to a point where you can now do things that require more prestige. So some of these buildings require, additional prestige levels, And your prestige can level up from one all the way up to I think it maxes at seven or eight in a standard game. Or some of the guests require a certain prestige level to even be able to play. They won't come to your estate unless you're respectable enough, right? So yeah, that was two rounds in a row where I got one of these Fairchild children, and was able to use them and kind of boost me ahead, right? Where you just weren't getting the same. Not only that, you also get a victory point card, which can range anywhere from 3 to 5 points at the end of the game. So not only are you getting the Fairchild, you're also getting victory points for it, right? Then, as we went into the third season, we flipped a card, the theme card, and it was, the brown rooms was the theme. Well, during turns one and two, because there wasn't any blue cards or blue buildings to build, we just had to kind of choose what we were going to build, and I started building the brown ones early, and you went like purple and pink. And so by random chance, I had like 6 points already in brown buildings, right? So I was like, oh wow, without doing anything, I'm getting them a third time. There's no way you can catch up because again, at this point, I had bought all the brown buildings, and there
Yep.
was none in the building tray again, right? So, and the thing with this theme deck is there's two of each color in this deck, right? So getting two blues right off the bat is very rare, especially like side by side, right? And then of course the fourth round comes and we draw the last brown card again. So again, two blues in a row, then two browns in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was now having said that, you did phenomenally well with having everything stacked against you, right? So I feel
Oh,
like you could have had a game that you just like completely crashed and burned, but you made really good decisions and like it was impressive. Like I how there was a gap, but like how close you brought that gap, considering everything was against you, right?
I
But
will admit when that like the fourth card came up and it was brown, I did want to flip the table. Um,
I bet.
it was pretty close.
Yeah,
But uh, yeah, well, so the other thing that happened was like I was trying to push up my prestige and the pink buildings. It kind of just happened that I grabbed a lot of pink buildings. So first of all, just when it was my turn, it just the cheapest building was pink.
yeah,
And the other part of this game is you get objective cards. So you start at the beginning of the game with like five objective cards or something, five or six, like a whole bunch. And then you get it's actually interesting how they do it. You have to get rid of objective cards as you go along, and then you're going to get a couple more, but then you have to keep shedding them throughout the game. So you kind of you have to go, okay, well, this one's looking viable, this one isn't looking viable. And sometimes you get rid of one and then the next turn, like the building you needed comes up.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
that's just how it is, right? But so I had a bunch of objective cards that they're kind of low victory point, but kind of easy. It was like I just had to have one room. So like one was the French garden, one was the English garden. They both happened to come up. So I made sure I grabbed them. Well, they're both pink cards. And the pink ones are all about getting guests
yeah,
and
yeah,
like and the prestige guests, so like the high level guests are worth a lot of points usually, and usually their abilities are really good. So I was like, okay, well, I'm trying to get my prestige up, and then you got this building that let you steal prestige from me, and I was
yeah,
having a hard time getting the prestige going up because I didn't have all the guests that I was getting, none of them gave me prestige. Like none of and then I had, like Thomas said, this American who gave me tons of cash, but lowered my prestige by 3 points, which is a ton.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So between using that like once because I was kind of desperate for money, and then you got this ability that was stealing prestige from me, I couldn't actually level up my prestige at all, which then prevented me from bringing in these high level guests, prevented me from using the like upgraded rooms. I was stuck with like starter rooms. It was pretty bad. And then on top of that, prestige is actually worth a ton of points at the end of the game.
yeah. It grows exponentially. Like if you only have a one in prestige, you're 1 point. But if you get up to that kind of max, 7 or 8 level, it was worth 28 points. So like that was a huge swing for
Yeah.
something that you really, I mean, you needed to use the Americans, even though it was eating up your prestige, right? Because it was giving you that cash advantage, which gave you access to, higher point scoring buildings or whatever, or
Yeah.
pink buildings that allowed you to get more of the prestige guests, which like you said are worth a lot of points, right? But the problem with that was that like you'd get like a higher level billing and you couldn't even use it, right? So
Yep.
some of the buildings
Yep.
come and they're worth negative victory points until you use them once, right? So it's like, oh, okay, well if I can't use it and it's a negative, that's kind of unfortunate because it just sits you there to the end of the game and then
See, usually it takes you a couple of rounds to get that prestige up to like the level 2 or 3.
yeah,
And then once you're there, you've got the money and you got the prestige to get the more upgraded rooms and then use those upgraded rooms to then accelerate the amount of prestige you can get. So it's like almost halfway through the game when like you took this one prestige from me that was just enough to stop me from leveling up to the next level, which was just enough to stop me from using that building to get more prestige, and it all just like tanked from there. But again, it
yeah,
was almost halfway through the game before I was like, I there's nothing I can do about this,
yeah, 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 yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then so I just went, okay, well, get as much money as I can, even if it tanks my prestige, because oh well, like I'm obviously not going to get that up. Get as much money as I can, buy as many high level point rooms as I can, and get as many high level guests as I can. And if they're just going to sit in my deck and I can't use them, but they're worth points at the end of the game. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's how I
And
had to play it.
I mean that would have it should have worked had you know if a pink colored card came up,
Oh,
you
yeah.
you would have won it. If a purple came up, you would have won it. Like I was so siloed in the blue, even green buildings. I think you had more points in the green buildings than I did, right? So I was so siloed in the blue and the brown that it really wasn't an efficient strategy, but it just happened to flip those cards as I was in a position to buy those buildings kind of thing, right? And I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, okay, so I'll just go heavy into that stuff and it's just gonna increase my kind of lead towards those attracting the childs. And that's what's the last round is interesting too because on the last round during the courtship phase, you look at all the theme cards for that came up, right? So again, the two blues and the two browns instead of just the one that's that round. So typically you just look at the round. Okay, it was blue, it was blue, it was brown. Now it's all of them: blue, blue, brown, brown, right? And at some point you had picked up another building and I wasn't paying attention because by this point I was like, I get them every turn. It's fine. I don't even need to look at the board state, right? And then sure enough you were like, oh, hold up. I got a bunch of points in blue, and I was like, oh, yes, you do, right? And you ended up having like, I think it was like 14 points you scored in blue or something.
Well, it
Um,
was so I picked up. I picked up like a servant room,
Yeah,
which was worth one. My starter, I flipped so it was worth
worth
one, and then
one.
I picked up a 6 point blue building.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah,
monument.
yeah,
So I had 8 points there, and then of course by the end, because there was two, that turns into 16 points.
yeah, yeah. But then you
Yeah,
had no brown buildings, unfortunately,
no
because
brown
none came
buildings.
up. So it was like, oh, 16 points. Wow, okay, I have to. So then I was looking at my brown buildings and I was like, oh shit, I have 17 points just counting the Browns once, right? So I was like, okay, okay, not
Yeah.
blues. You like blew me out of the water. I only had like 3 points in blues by the end of the three or three, maybe four, by the end of the game. So yeah, your eight points was quite a bit more than I had, right?
But of course, I got that after the blue cards you'd already won the
Yeah,
Fairchild
yeah,
on those rounds.
and
This
and
was just for the end.
And then it was just the randomness of what buildings were coming up to that was just really like when I set up the board. So I set up the board, and typically how you set up the board is you'll have, I think it's 6 different buildings that you set up. Now, the first turn of the round, you set these buildings up, and anything that is 4 or above, you take out and you redraw. So you can only have buildings with a prestige level of 1 to 3. And then one of the servants, the rumor mill, the one that I was stealing your prestige, that's the only servant building that can't be out on the start as well,
Hmm.
right? So you know, I drew all these. I got rid of the big ones and then redrew. And then if you ever get doubles, you stack them, which is kind of neat. That's a very unique way of doing it, right? And then the farther they are down the building row, so the closer to the start of the building row, the cheaper it is, right? Like that first
Yeah.
building to buy is worth 300 for 300 coins for that building. Sometimes the buildings will have an additional cost or a discount on them, like it might say negative 200 or plus 200, right? And then each building place, the farther you get down that six, costs 100 more pounds as you continue down, right? The last spot being like 700 pounds or something like that, right? So I set that all up, and I there was one servant building, which, like I said, I took that on my very first turn, and then there was one, I think it was level one green building, and then the rest of the buildings were like level three buildings, right?
Yeah.
So it was like those prestige three buildings we're not even going to be able to use until like maybe season two, season three, right? Especially in a standard game that's shorter and compact kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh man, these are tough buildings, but you get them and you get points, and if they line up, that can help you get the children. That's really hard to do. Back
You've been
Fairchild,
struggling.
yeah. So, but one of the effects, actually, both of the Fairchilds, they both increase prestige, right? That's one of the effects of their cards. So, Elizabeth the female does 2 prestige boost, and then I think you draw a prestige guess as well. And then her brother does, and I forget his name, is a 3 prestige boost. So getting that 2 turns in a row, it takes, 5 prestige movements to get up to the next level. So, I got that on the first round and then basically rocketed up to almost level two. And because I got the victory point, well, the victory point card I was able to trade in for a 2 prestige bump. So it got me to level two right going into season two, right? And started season two and I was able to buy a green building that was a level two building. And now that I was at Prestige two, I was able to use that building. Um, and yeah, it just everything just seemed to fall into place. Every time I would get something, I'd be like, oh, I just drew a prestige guess that requires 5. Well, by the time, I bumped up the prestige a bit, which wasn't too long. It's like, oh, I just reached 5 and now I could use this card and I have all the right cards to play it right away, basically, right? So Yeah, for
Oh man.
it was quite the it was quite interesting to watch that, right?
Yeah.
And strictly by sheer chance. Obviously, this is gonna isn't gonna happen every time, um, but it can, right?
Yep.
That's the reality of some random drawbacks and stuff like that, right? So
Yeah. So, when this game was first described to me, I think they used the words rooms instead of buildings.
that makes
Um,
sense.
it like put in images of in my head of like having a player board with some kind of manor house on it and you're filling in, but it's just tiles. It's just
Yeah,
square tiles. They have the name of the room and then yeah, activity that you're doing in it, like yeah, like the croquet lawn, and then you're going to play croquet obviously,
yeah,
or stables, or so it could be a building or an area or room, whatever, but it's just tiles.
yeah,
And like we've said, different colors correspond to the different types of rooms, though they also correspond to what it gives you. So
yes.
there's this blues the servants, obviously, where you can hire servants. Um, Brown, I'm not quite sure.
Brown allows you to bring a bunch of gentry. So you build the
Oh,
brown
just
buildings so
lots
that
of
you can get
guests.
yeah, play lots of guests, right? Yeah.
Right, right, right,
And
right.
get all the bonuses from each of the guests kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Pink lets you get more guest cards. Purple increases your prestige, and then green gives you money,
Yeah.
right? Um, Now the guests too typically like is definitely split into men and women. It's a big theme. And some, so on the cards it might say you have to bring one man and one woman, right, to do this activity together. Or three men, or it could be or it's just six gentry in
Yeah.
general, right? uh and then when you play those cards, you're going to get the abilities on those cards. The women tend to have stuff like bringing like in more guests, and then sometimes can increase your respect. The men are usually more increase your respect, or give you money. And then again, like, well, there's some women, like again, the Americans that give you money too. But so there's a bit of a mix there, but I think the general theme is women bring guests, and then men bring money and respect.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. 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 Very
you
time
know,
period-esque.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So but when you play those guests down, you need to, I think Thomas mentioned, have the right servants that are meeting their needs. And then once you've used those servants, they go to like an exhausted area. And then the next round, they're kind of recovering. So you can't use them for a turn. So you have to balance, okay, what rooms can I use because I want to do whatever ability next round, and then what cards do I have in my hand that I can do that with? Then do I have the right servants to be able to do that? And are they, are they going to be available next round, the round after that? And you're sort of balancing all this. And then if you ever can't do stuff because you've run out of cards, or you don't have the right servants, or whatever, then you got to take a rest turn, which refreshes all your servants. You get a couple hundred pounds, and you get all your cards back. But it's one of those feel bad turns where
You just yeah,
and
you're like skipping over your turn. I'm not
yeah,
doing anything. Yeah.
and you got to do it. Like
Yeah.
you got to do it throughout the game. Getting more guests helps. Obviously, hiring more servants helps. But sometimes, yeah, you just got to take that turn, and you have to be strategic about it. And obviously, it can put you behind, if, oh, I really need to hire this servant or whatever, or I really need to do something next turn, but I can't. I gotta take a refresh, and then meanwhile, your opponent snatches up the building you needed, or snatches up the servant you needed, or whatever. So
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing that feels kind of bad, similar to like a rest action, is when you take the higher staff action. So you have to use a butler to
Mm.
do so, and then you get to pick two staff, and they go to your exhausted area, right? And that's it. On a typical
Yeah.
turn, you go to a building, you play Gentry, and you get the building bonus, you get all the Gentry bonus, and those bonuses can be a lot. Could be prestige, could be pounds, could be extra guests. Like you get a bunch of stuff, and then on a turn where you're hiring staff, you're like, I hire staff, and I take one of these and one of those, and that's it.
That's it.
Next, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, it feels like it puts you behind, but then that's the only way to make sure you have the staff that you need. Because as you're getting those prestige guests, they're often requiring specific servants to attend to them, right?
And more servants
And more and
too.
more. Sometimes it's more
Yeah.
than one servant, exactly, right? And two, I had one last night that was required a maid of honor, lady of honor, and a two of the lady ones. So one of the red meeple, which you only have one of in the game, and
Yeah.
then one purple, which you can hire more of these purple ladies in waiting, right?
I think red's the lady in waiting and purple's the maid, like the
Yes,
lady's
fair
maid.
enough.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, yes. And so I had this guest that had that, and I wanted to go to this one bit, room, but the room requirement was the red meeple, and I was like, okay, so I cannot place these two together because I can only ever have one red meeple, right? So that, you have to look at things like that as well, right? And then there was other things that was like some of my rooms were like bring in four ladies going to this room, right? And it was like, okay, I have four ladies in my hand. Oh wait, I need three maids, and I only have two, right?
Yep.
And I've noticed that you bought the other two that were, up for buying, and now there's no more in the kind of like recruitment pool. They do give you a way where you can steal single staff from an opponent, but it's even less efficient, right? Because
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
instead of getting two and doing nothing else on your turn, you get one and do nothing else on your turn, right? So
So
yeah.
yeah,
So those can it's a neat puzzle you got to figure out.
yeah. So between balancing what rooms you can go to with what guests you can go to and what servants you have, you're also balancing your money versus your prestige. And we did talk about the randomness of it at the beginning, but I wanted to sort of highlight the strategic aspect of the game because it is very strategic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
yeah.
nice crunchy puzzle. This one's I love this one every time. I was saying last night I couldn't believe I've only played this 3 times because it's so good.
We have a great time every time we play it, right? But because of our collections, yeah, we only get to it everyone. The last time we played it was back in May, and then before that was January, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, love this game, but yeah, I'd like to bring it out more when we have when we have more time, right? So yeah,
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 and I liked it. I liked it a lot at 3 players.
yes,
I
plays
think
really
that's
well at three.
probably going to be the good number. 4 maybe, but I think 3 is probably a good number.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and you said the solo was good too.
Solo is really good. Yeah, I enjoyed solo. And but you're right, absolutely. Like playing at one was great. Playing at two is great. Playing at three, I really enjoyed myself there too. It adds another dynamic, right? That you're playing against two opponents now, so that's twice the amount of buildings going through. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a really fun game. Solid game from this publisher and this designer.
And that wraps up another episode of the Current Plays podcast. Check us out next week on YouTube or your favorite podcast provider. But until then, good gaming and good night.
Good night, folks.